We'll wait for a couple of minutes for everybody else to join in and settle down. But in the meanwhile, I would encourage all of you to use the chat box, tell us a little about yourself, what you deal in, your business. Let's use this opportunity to network with one another. We will start the session sharp at 4:05. We have our speaker ready and eager to discuss with all of you about the Union Budget 2023. I can see, let me just check if everything is working fine. I'm hoping you all start using the chat box. If you do have any particular questions during the course of the session, please use the Q&A section below so that your question is not missed in the volume of messages that come in the chat box. Okay, I can see that you all have now started using the chat. So hello everyone again. Just a brief introduction. I'm Malvika and I'm representing GlobalLinker today. GlobalLinker, as you know, is an SME business networking platform with over 4 lakh plus SMEs across the world. And of course, as most of you are already aware, GlobalLinker is a free to join platform, but it is only by invite. So I'm happy to see that all of you have been invited by some of the other large organizations to be a part of this growing community. While we wait for more people to join in, let me tell you a little more about this series, which is basically called the GlobalLinker Growth Talks. So growth never takes place by mere chance. It is honestly the result of all forces coming together. And our series is trying to bring together industry specialists, experts to share practical knowledge with all of you here today. Allow me now to actually share with you a brief introduction about our speaker, our esteemed speaker today, Mrs. Ritul Patwa. He's a CA and the managing partner at Ritul Patwa Co. He's also a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Honestly, he specializes in financial services, tax policies, new laws, and also is an avid public speaker. He believes in sharing knowledge, and that's what he is doing today for all of us. Now, for the SMEs who've joined in, I'd like to remind you that this session has been curated and tailor-made specially for you. There is a lot of focus on the MSMEs, and we'll try to highlight that in today's session. Again, if you have any question, please use the Q&A section to ask any of it. We will leave about 15 minutes towards the end of the presentation for you to ask any questions live to our expert today. And given that we have 2 more minutes, I think we'll just allow everybody else to join in, settle down. So good to meet all of you here today. And hello, Ritul. It's honestly a pleasure to have you back year on year, discussing with all of our SMEs about the benefits and the ups and downs of the union budget.
Hi, Malika. I take this opportunity to talk to all your members. It's been wonderful working with you for last several years. And this is one of the best platforms where we can disseminate maximum information to the SME sector. So I've been working with a lot of organizations, lot of associations, but my association with GlobalLinker has been very unique. The outreach that we have made in last few years have been exponential, and I really felt very good being part of the GlobalLinker network. And I think the efforts that you have been making for making this platform more useful for all the SMEs, that is wonderful. I would suggest all my viewers to be a part of this network and take maximum mileage from the information and the networking benefits provided by GlobalLinker.
Absolutely, the feeling is mutual, Ritul. I think one thing that our strong mission is around the fact that we want SMEs to, one, have a very enjoyable journey during their business growth, as well as profitable, and yet it should be a simple journey. So I think just focusing on these 3 aspects, that's what we aim at achieving with one another. Given that it's now time, and I think a lot of our members today are quite eager to know about the highlights of the budget, so we'll get directly into the session.
I'll just start off with my presentation, and I'm sharing my screen with the presentation.
Sure. We can see your presentation. If you can just make it full screen.
Sure. Is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Okay. So guys, we have seen the Union Budget 2023 yesterday, and this has been one of the most unique budgets because as you know that this is the last full budget for this government. And every time we had the last budget, it is a common thought that the government is going to give a lot of freebies. So this budget is very unique because this is for the first time that we see that government has, instead of giving the freebies, they have made a physical discipline as part of this budget. So this budget is, if I give the key word for this budget, that is physical discipline. The first word for this budget, if I have to speak, is physical discipline. Fiscal deficit at 5.9% of GDP. This is amazing. The government is trying to go below 5%. And once we are below 5%, our rating, our sovereign rating is really going to go high. See, what is happening is in the transition the world is going through in last 3 years, we have seen that India has slowly and steadily risen the ladders. So earlier, the way India used to operate, and today, the respect that India is getting in the global world, that is amazing. Now, that combined with the efforts that the government is taking to bring in fiscal discipline, that is really going to be amazing. Next, the second important aspect about this budget is that the government has clearly stated that we are moving from a savings economy to a market economy. So what has happened is, till now, from last 75 years, what we have seen that India was always a savings economy. So you would have always seen that there is a section 80C rebate. So if you make investment of up to 1.5 lakh rupees, you are given a deduction in your total income, and you are getting a benefit when you are saving. Now, from last year, the government has created, they have given a new tax regime, and this year they have made it stronger. And this year, the type of new tax regime that they have given, they have made it very clear that ultimately everybody is going to be part of the new tax regime, and we are moving from a savings economy to a market economy. There's been a very common question that what is this market economy? The market economy is, the basic concept of market economy is that the household money should directly go to the market. It should not be primarily into all the savings instrument. It should go to the market, and the people should be actively participating in the growth of the nation. There may be positive, they may be negative, all sorts of thought processes in this, but primarily that is the direction we are moving. And most of the developed countries, they are market economy. They are not savings economy. So we are moving, transiting from a developing economy to a developed economy. So that is the normal process that we are following for being a developed economy. Then there is a consistency in tax policy. The government of India, the current dispensation, they have been very clear in what sort of a tax policy they want. They want a minimal tax compliance policy. They don't want the assessees to go and look into the number of laws. They want a very minimal tax laws, and they want it to be very crisp. So they are following the same path, and the new tax regime that we are going to discuss in the third part of this presentation, that is going to discuss about the consistency in the tax policy. Then benefits to all classes. Now, this is very interesting that always, most of the times, the benefits are given to the lower class or the middle class. This is the first budget where you'll see that the super rich have also been benefited. So what happens is the super rich are being charged at a higher rate of tax through surcharge. So the rate of surcharge has been reduced from 37% to 25% for super rich who earn 5 crore rupees per annum. This has impacted 3.74% reduction in their overall tax liability. So this is the first time that the super rich have been benefited. Now we come to the middle class. So what is the problem with the middle class is that middle class is always, they don't have enough funds to invest, and they are always fighting with their own expenses. Now suppose a person who is earning 15 lakh rupees per annum, and he is unable to do any investment in terms of savings. So when we compare the old regime versus the new regime, you'll find that he is going to save 1,12,500 rupees in terms of his tax payout. So this is an amazing thing. A person who was earning 15 lakh rupees in the old regime would have paid a tax of 2,62,500. In the new regime, the same person is going to pay 1,50,000 rupees. So this is an amazing benefit that is given to the middle class of the country. Then we come to the lower middle group, low income group. So what you'll see that the government has raised the basic taxability. So earlier, till 5 lakh rupees, a person was completely non-taxable. Now it has been raised to rebate benefit of Section 87A. Up to 7 lakh rupees, the income has become non-taxable. So we see this budget that without giving a leverage to the fiscal deficit, the government has been able to manage the aspiration of every segment of the economy. Now, last but not the least, because we are talking with the MSMEs and we are trying to discuss on that. So this budget has tried to develop an ease of doing business for MSMEs and solving their very critical problems. Now, you'll find that this budget has taken some exceptional steps to help the MSMEs to solve their problems. We will directly go to the next portion, which is the major benefits to MSME in this budget 2023. So what is the biggest problem that an MSME face? So what happens is MSME usually supply their good to the consumer or the industry. So when it supplies good to the industry, they don't have leverage because they are small. They don't have leverage for collection. So they have to give long periods of credit. And at times, if they are unable to recover their credit, they don't have any means to how to tackle with these big industrialists. So in this budget, the government has introduced Section 43BH. This is a unique section wherein the government has said that any payment due to an MSME beyond 45 days, which is the maximum permission limit under Section 15 of MSMED Act, shall be allowed as an expenditure in the books of the recipient. But suppose if there is a big industry that has taken any service or goods from MSME supplier and they don't make the payment within 45 days, that payment will not be allowed as an expenditure in their books of accounts. So in order to claim an expenditure, this is essential for the recipient of service to make the payment to the MSME supplier. So this is a very unique concept that the government has brought in to make sure that MSMEs get their recoveries very fast. Then about the small sellers, there is a very important thing, Section 44AD in the Income Tax Act, which provides a presumptive taxation regime for the small MSME assessees. So in presumptive taxation, till now, it was only up to 2 crore rupees that the MSMEs were allowed for presumptive taxation. This year, government has provided that the limit has been increased from 2 crore to 3 crore, subject to a condition that 95% of the total turnover is done through banking channels. Excuse me. So in case if you do business 95% through banking channels, you can use this presumptive taxation up to 3 crore rupees. And in presumptive taxation, the benefit is that you don't have to maintain proper bills and vouchers of all the expenses that you incur. You can simply put up like 6% of your turnover as your profit and pay taxes accordingly. And in case if you don't have, if you are doing cash transaction, then you can take up to 8%. So this is a very good benefit which has been provided to micro and small medium enterprises. Then the similar law which has been created in Income Tax Act, a similar provision has been provided in GST Act. So what has been done, anybody who has bought goods from an MSME or any company and has not paid the payment for those goods within 180 days of the receipt, and he has taken an ITC credit for that, now it is required that he has to make the payment, he has to repay the payment, the ITC credit taken along with interest under Section 50. So again, when you are required to make the payment along with interest, people will usually want to make the payment within the timeline so that they are not burdened with the interest. Now, third provision is, it is regarding the e-commerce sellers. So earlier, e-commerce sellers were not allowed to use the composition scheme under GST. But now e-commerce sellers who are selling goods, not services, only sellers who are selling goods are allowed to opt for composition scheme under GST. Then a very interesting sector. I have been getting this question since yesterday, and I have given a lot of interviews, and everybody is talking about what are the sectors which have been benefited under this budget. So I have jotted down certain sectors for our viewers. So the first sector is agricultural sector. So what has happened in agriculture sector is they have provided provision that everywhere, wherever there is agriculturist or a village, there should be a warehousing facility. In that case, the agriculturist who's farmer, he is not bound to sell his product at a lower price, because whenever there is a crop season, the prices of the goods goes down. Now, if there is a proper warehousing facility at every place, They would be not bound to sell at a lower price. They can store their goods, and whenever the prices rises, they can sell their goods. Then there is an incubation for agri-tech startups. Startups have really made a big time in India, and they have been helpful in growing India in last 5 to 7 years. The government wants agri-tech startups to come up. Then there's a credit, insurance, crop protection, etc. There are a number of things that government has provided in this budget for the agricultural sector. Next is the infrastructure sector. There's been a big boost to the infrastructure sector because this is the basic of the growth of an economy. We'll see that there is a 30% increase in the allocation of budget to the infrastructure sector. And the biggest beneficiaries and would be cement, steel, capital goods. So whenever there is a growth in the infrastructure sector, we find that these three sectors are going to get a lot of benefit out of it. Then fintech. Fintech had been suffering from last 2-3 years. They didn't have clarity on the laws. They wanted to develop new initiatives. And UPI, Paytm, and these companies, they have really made a big time. But for small fintechs to grow again, there was a basic, they required certain additional benefits from the government. Now, government has aligned them with the KYC process. They have simplified the KYC process and provided access to the DigiLocker and to these fintech companies. Now, this is going to benefit to this fintech because they'll be able to be part of the overall structured regime. Till now, fintechs have been working in an unstructured manner. Now they will come as part of the structured regime. Further, Digital India and 5G are the two important takeaways from this budget, wherein government has given a lot of emphasis on this. Fourth sector, this is the most interesting sector. I think a lot of people are going to have benefit in this. So domestic tourism. When I'm talking about tourism, I have given it a very specific term, domestic tourism. I have not used outbound or international tourism because government is very clear. As I told you, the government has taken a call that they want certain things within India to grow. So what they have done is they have increased the TCS. Now, suppose you book an outbound tour from India to UK for 1 lakh rupees. Earlier, only 5% TCS was required to be deducted. Now you have to pay 20% extra as TCS for that tour package. Now, what is going to happen? The outbound tours are going to get expensive immediately. And this is going to benefit the domestic tourism. Further, the government is going to do select 50 cities where special packages for domestic tourism is going to be developed for domestic Indians and also packages for inbound tourism. So for people from outside India, they will be invited and their packages given to them. They will be benefit. They will be given cheaper packages so that maximum people come and visit India and see the vibrance of India. Domestic tourism, I think that is going to take a big plus from here. And hotels, hospitality, and they are going to be the beneficiaries out of it. Then there is education and skill development. Government has given heavy allocation and new programs for education, skill development, R&D by way of setting up new institutions, focus on new generation skills. So now what government has said is that they are not talking about regular colleges, schools. They are talking about new generation skills, say artificial intelligence. They want people to learn coding. So these new activities they are adding up in the education curriculum, and they want people to come up and learn these things. India is being prepared for the next leap. We are not competing with any country. We want India to be competed with other countries. This budget has given the impetus for that futuristic thought process. Next, I'm going to come to sectors which have lost. Yes, there are a few sectors which have not been benefited by this budget, and they have been on the receiving end of this budget. So the first sector is insurance sector. What has happened in insurance sector is insurance was getting the biggest volume because under section 80C up to 1.5 lakh rupees deduction was allowed for insurance payment. Then all the insurance policies, life insurance policies which were covered under section 10D, they were given they were tax free. Now in this budget, any policy which is above 5 lakh rupees per annum premium, that is non-tax, that is going to be taxable, and section 80C that is no more applicable in the new regime. So unless you go in the old regime, you will not get benefit of that. I think this is going to be a deterrent for the insurance sector. For silver jewelry and articles, the government has increased the rate of custom import duty to 10%. Earlier it was 7.5% and 6.1%, and it has gone up to 10%. So silver is going to be an expensive product going forward, and we have to find it a little more expensive. Then imported cars. Imported cars have become expensive as their duty increased from 60% to 70%. So if I give you the overall perspective of the government, what government wants? Government wants import should be expensive, local production, local manufacturing should be boosted, and growth should be given to the local industry. India has to become a local manufacturing hub for the world. What China has done earlier, we want to do it now. But China has been a very lopsided growth story. India is going to be a multifaceted growth. You will find it is going to be a tech specialist. You find it is going to be a manufacturing specialist. You will find India growing in every format. So this was all about the basic things about the overall perspective. I have given you the overall perspective of the budget. Now, Malvika, how much time are you going to give me for tax proposals?
You can please go ahead. We still have a couple of maybe let's say 10 to 15 minutes.
Now I'm going to take the tax proposals by the income tax proposals by the government. So there is no major change in terms of partnership firm, LLPs and companies. The taxation is same for the these partnership firm, LLPs and companies, and we are not going ahead with those discussions. What has come up is the new scheme, which is one of the most important highlights of this budget, and that is for individual HUF, AOP and BOI. So now, earlier also we had a new scheme, but I'll explain you. You can see on the screen, there are two schemes. One is the new scheme without deduction. One is the old scheme with deduction. The difference is the earlier old scheme was default and new scheme was optional. Now the government has said that the old scheme is optional and new scheme is a default scheme. The benefit to the salaried employees, those who don't have a business income, every year they have an option to choose between whether they want to go into the old scheme or the new scheme. They can choose. But for those people who have a business income, they have only one time option. Once they choose to be in the old scheme, and once they opt out, they will not be allowed to go back in the old scheme. So only they have one time option for the old scheme. Now we come to what is the benefit of the new scheme. What is the new scheme? Basically, we need to understand what is the new scheme. So under the new scheme, as you can see, there are 6 brackets in which the tax rate has been defined. Up to 3 lakh rupees, there is no taxation. 3 lakh to 6 lakh, 5% taxation. 6 lakhs to 9 lakh, 10% taxation. 9 lakhs to 12 lakh, 15% taxation. 12 to 15, 20% taxation. Above 15, that is a 30% tax slab. There is a tax calculator which I have given. If you put in your total income on the in this formula, you will find that you can calculate your taxes yourself. Malvika, if you can share that ready reckoner with all of our viewers,
Absolutely.
they'll be able to do it for themselves.
We'll share it right away.
Now, the important aspect is that the government has allowed rebate under Section 87A for resident individual. It may be noted that it is only for the resident individuals, not for NRIs, not for HUF, AOP or BOI. So in this, anybody who is a resident individual, his income up to 5 lakh rupees is completely tax-free. Whatever taxes liability will come, that is going to come as a rebate to him. Then standard deduction for salaried employees, which was not earlier allowed, is now allowed for the salaried employee. So this has become, this is to make this new scheme more lucrative and for people to adopt for this new scheme. Then there are certain allowances like family pension, employees contribution to NPS, deposit in Agniveer Corpus Fund, profit from biodegradable business, and income of unit of IFSC. These are the additional benefits which have been provided. Other than these, all the benefits, all the deductions have been removed. I have shared a list of all the benefits which are not available under the new scheme, and we will discuss them specifically when we will be discussing the old scheme. Now, there are certain sections. This is a continuous section. There are certain types of incomes which are a specific rate of tax. There is not going to be any change in those incomes. Suppose from equities or equity-oriented mutual fund, you have a short-term capital gain. The rate of tax is 15% irrespective of your tax tab. Long-term capital gain, 20. Others is 20%. Long-term capital gain above rupees 1 lakh on equity mutual fund or units of ULIP, that is 10%. Winning from lotteries, cross-up orders, race, including horse races, etc., other than online gaming, there's a flat rate of tax of 30%. So without any deduction. In respect of tax and winnings from online gaming, this is a new addition. The government rate is prescribed as 30%, but the government has given a benefit that the amount that is going to be booked is only the net winnings. So suppose in online gaming you have invested 1 lakh rupees and you have lost 50,000 and you gain 80,000 rupees. So the net gain is only 30,000 rupees. You will be taxed only for the net winnings in this case. Then there has been a reduction in the highest rate of surcharge, and education cess is again 4%. So the total tax liability that you have to calculate for yourself is the tax liability plus surcharge plus education cess. Education cess is applicable on income tax as plus surcharge combined. So that is going to be your tax liability. Now I am giving a comparison just to compare, because most of the people are confused that whether we should go for an old scheme or a new scheme. So I am giving a comparison here of the old scheme. So what was there in the old scheme? Here we are discussing only the general category, senior citizen and very senior citizen are not discussed here. Under the old scheme, up to 2.5 lakh rupees, there was no taxation. 2.5 to 5 lakh, 5%, 5 lakh to 10 lakh, 20%, and above 10 lakh, 30%. The tax calculator is again given in the next column. Now, surcharge rate, that is the same, but for people above 5 crore rupees, the surcharge was earlier 37%. In the new scheme, it is 25%. Health and education cess is again 4%. But there are certain deductions which are allowable in the old scheme and which were not allowable in the new scheme. So standard deduction, this is allowable in the old as well as new scheme. Then deduction for rent on self-occupied house. This is a limit up to 2 lakh rupees. I think a lot of people, they take this as a tax benefit. Interest on housing loan, investments, ATC ke hote hain, ATCCD, mediclaim insurance, ATE, interest on education loan, additional loan on home loan for first residential house, interest on loan for purchase of electric vehicle, rent paid, interest on saving account, interest from deposit. These are all the things for which the deduction is allowed under the old scheme. But this reduction is not allowed in the new scheme. So this is the difference between old and the new scheme. Now, I would like to give a comparison. So anybody who wants to compare, suppose my income is this. So whether I am a beneficiary in the old scheme or new scheme. But this comparison is given on two bases. Suppose a person who is a middle class person or is not having any savings. So what is going to be his benefit in the old scheme, new scheme versus the old scheme? So in the first slide, I'm discussing assessing without any savings, including surcharge and education cess. So suppose a person is earning up to 5 lakh rupees, both are no taxation zone. 7 lakh rupees in new scheme, there is no taxation. In the old scheme, there is a tax of 54,600. So there is a benefit of 54,600 rupees. Similarly, 10 lakh rupees, the tax liability in the new scheme is 62,400. In the old scheme, it is 1,17,000. Savings of 54,600 again. 15 lakhs, 1,56,000 versus 2,73,000. So a savings of 1,17,000 rupees. 60 lakhs, 17 lakhs, 16,000 versus 18 lakh 44,000. A saving of 1,28,000 rupees. So as you grow up the ladder, you will see that there is a your savings all goes up. But once you cross 5 crore rupees, you become a super rich. So suppose a person who is making 6 crore rupees per annum is saving in new scheme versus the old scheme is 23 lakh 69,250 rupees, which is a major benefit for the super rich people. Now, most of the people, I think that was only for description purpose, but there are a lot of people who make a lot of savings. So India, as we were in a savings regime earlier, I think most of the people are doing saving. They have home loans. They are taking benefits. So this slide we have discussed with the assessee who has got savings under section ATC 1.5 lakhs, ATCCD, that is National Pension Scheme, 50,000 rupees, ATD, that is Mediclaim, 25,000 rupees, home loan interest, 2 lakh rupees. So a person who is doing a total saving of 4.25 lakh rupees. So in his case, what is going to be the loss he is going to make or the benefit that he is going to make? So when we see, if he has got 4.25, halaki, it is very difficult. A person who is making 7 lakh rupees, he is going to save 4.25 lakhs. It is only, I don't think it is practically possible. But we are taking this situation. So a person who is making 7 lakh rupees, there is no taxation. A person who is making 10 lakh rupees, under the new regime, the tax liability is 62,400. Under the old regime, because he will be saving 4.25 lakhs, effective rate of tax comes from only 5,75,000 rupees. So that is 27,500. His saving is 35,000 rupees. But once you move over 10 lakh rupees, you will see that your saving is consistently very low, marginal saving, 15,600 to 19,500 rupees, which is not a major saving. And once you cross 5 crore rupees, it's again beneficial to go in the new tax regime, and old tax regime is definitely a loser for you. Now, who should opt for old scheme? Very important question. So people will say whether I should opt for old scheme or I should come in new scheme. Anybody who's running a business and he's having carried forward unabsorbed losses and depreciation in his business, or he's into a business which is extremely risky, like future and option of equities and equity linked funds. So he can evaluate the benefits of old scheme, because in that case, suppose if a person make heavy loss in 1 year, that will not be allowed to be carried forward to the next year. So those person who is into either a very risky business like F&O, or who are having carried forward business losses or depreciation, they can opt for a old scheme. Or there is some material savings for that person in the old scheme. So you have to calculate for yourself, and you find whether you should go for an old scheme or a new scheme. I am giving my overall take on the budget. What do I think about the budget? The budget is highly progressive, and government has clearly defined the transition from savings economy to a market-based economy. Emphasis is on go local, infrastructure, and building new generation businesses and skills in India. So I tried to capsulate the entire budget in a very short format for SMEs. And Malvika, I would like you to take forward this. No, Malvika, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ritul, for that detailed explanation. We had a lot of people thanking you for that presentation, and some of them were asking for the insights that you shared. We'll be sharing that, the recording of the presentation as well as this session, posted to your GlobalLinker email ID. I saw a couple of questions coming in. Let me just go ahead and ask them. So the first question was, I think, from Mr. Kaushal, if I'm not wrong. He said, can you explain recovery of dues in detail? Is this relevant in recovering past dues as well? Highlighting on the section 43B.
Actually, dues which are till 31st March 2023, they have already been claimed by the assessee in his income tax return, and that has been allowed to him. So past dues, definitely 43B(h) does not cover. But any dues which accrue after 1st April 2023, they will be covered under section 43B. Alternately, there is a clause under the MSMED Act, wherein they ask the recipient of service or goods to make payment of interest in case of delay in payment to the MSME. But usually MSMEs are not able to take that strongly, because they have to do business with the same people. But now that the government has inbuilt the process in the Income Tax Act, I think they will be highly benefited, because the payer will make sure that the payment is made within time.
Absolutely. Also, again, lot of comments there about how the presentation was really enriching, very helpful information. I can see one question from Mr. Bhumit Bansal. He says, is there any benefit for merchant exporters?
See, merchant exporter, not specifically where any specific benefit has been given. But if you are a merchant exporter, definitely you are a manufacturer in India. So manufacturing has been given a boost. I think you should look into different new schemes, and PLI also you can look into whether you are getting any benefit on the PLI scheme. So we can find different areas, but specifically export, no specific provision has been given at this.
Sure. Moving to the next one, Mr. Subrangsu Sarkar asks, can you highlight on benefits given to startups in general?
Okay. So startups, that period of starting business has been extended for 1 more year. So startups have got a provision that first 3-year income out of the first 10 years, any 3 years income, they are allowed to take it tax-free. So the period has been extended for 1 more year, that if you are creating a startup till 31st March 2024, you'll be eligible to claim this benefit on the Income Tax Act. Further, the government has started separate accelerator funds. So you can look into those funds and you can get acceleration benefits from the government. You need to see which sector you are into. Say about if you are into the agri-tech sector. So there is a separate accelerator fund which government has created in this budget. So if you are into the right segment, I think you need to identify which segment you are in, and then we can talk about what benefits the government is giving to your sector. But yes, government is very positive on the startups, and they want to create a startup ecosystem. See, now there is a difference. Earlier, what happened is startup were a separate category and regular business was a separate category. Now the government wants it to become one. So every business he has to work like a startup. They need to see how they can scale up fast. What is the difference between a startup and a regular business? Regular business does business like in a arithmetic progression, but startups grow their business in a geometric progression. Now government want that every business should make growth in a geometric progression. That is what the government intends.
Sure. Moving to the next question from Mr. Aman Jain. He says, I'm an e-commerce seller and input GST gets accumulated. How do we really take care of extra GST in the account? Can we encash it or anything else that we can do?
Aman, see, when you're an e-commerce seller, excuse me. So when you are an e-commerce seller, there are two types of inputs that you're getting. One input on the goods that you purchase, and the other input which is on the services portion. So what happens is the input that you take on goods that you can claim back, that you can take as a refund. But inputs that is coming as part of the services, because e-commerce companies charges multiple types of commission from. So warehousing commission would be there, transportation commission would be there, their e-commerce service commission would be there, and there is a 18% GST on that. You cannot take a refund of those service portion input, but definitely you can plan yourself so that you utilize the service portion in payment of your output tax liability and the input portion that you can try to get a refund of. Still, I'm sure there will be sufficient amount which will stay unutilized, but that could be carried forward for future utilization.
Sure. Thank you for that one. Mr. Vishwanath Nayak asks, any support to the companies facing NPA problems?
Now, we have to come very specific. So if you are going NPA, you need to identify whether you can take your company into restructuring. It's a very specific question. Budget has not given anything very specific about NPAs, but that is something you need to consult your tax consultant, and they can suggest you different means of restructuring your non-performing bank liability.
Sure. Moving to the next question from Mr. Alok Mukherjee. He says, how much budget is allocated for to DPIIT for startup exemption?
Allocation we need to find. I think the numbers are not yet available with us, but definitely I will check and I'll revert back on the numbers for DPIIT allocation.
Sure, we'll take that question offline.
Yes.
The next one is from Alpana Dhole. She says, please share details of accelerator funds and if you can share more about startup ecosystem.
So what the government is doing, they know that startups are not profitable in the earlier years. So what they have done is they are trying to build these accelerator funds. They will provide you funding from the accelerator fund. If, everything will be through Swiss challenge. You need to win and get into that accelerator fund. If you have a good idea, the government is going to provide you the funding. This fund you can through various. So depending on what sort of a segment you are working in, you need to approach the right accelerator fund and you can take funding from that. Government is creating huge funds for startups, and I think whichever segment you're in. So if it is an agri-tech segment, a new accelerator fund is being started here in this budget only. But previously also we have several accelerator funds which are already operational for other sectors. You can take benefit from that.
Great, that was helpful. So the next question is from Mr. Santosh Sharan. He says, going forward, can you share some insights on the future of the insurance industry, as well as other saving instruments like PF, PPF, etc., particularly for the middle class?
Whose question was it?
Santosh.
Okay, Santosh. So Santosh, life insurance is going to be a little difficult, undoubtedly, and especially for those who are selling life insurance, it is really going to be difficult going forward. Reason being, because most of the time insurance was not just taken for the purpose of your saving, for your security of your family. Majority of the time, the reason for taking an insurance is besides security, we'll make savings in the taxation. Whatever amount we are going to get back from as a at the time of maturity, that is going to be tax free. So if you are into a segment which is above 1.5 lakhs and below 5 lakh, it would not matter much for you. But if you are in the lower segment wherein people wanted to save tax through insurance, that is going to be difficult going forward in the QCG. And if you are in a HNI seller, or you are a MTRT or COT or TOT, then that segment is going to face a little challenges going forward. Because suppose if you are giving a 7% return and it is taxable, so the net returns come down to, for HNIs who are giving a 1 crore rupees insurance, so 40% reduction ho jayega, so it's 4.2%, which is very less.
Right.
So
right.
that challenge is going to come.
Sure. So again, one more follow-on question to that. Any comments about the whole life policies? What about maturity amount? Is it tax-free?
Maturity amount, if the policy is below 5 lakh rupees per annum premium. I'll give a disclaimer here. Any policy which has been taken till 31st March 2023, which has been issued till 31st March 2023, that will not be covered by this amendment. So if you are into the insurance sector, push yourself hard, because next 2 months are going to be very exciting for you. But if it is below 5 lakh rupees after 31st March also, it is tax free. If it is above 5 lakh rupees, it is going to be taxable. 5 lakh rupees is the annual premium I'm talking about.
Yeah, so next question is from Divyanshi Chauhan. She says, I have an IT service outsourcing and establishment in 2019. As you said, out of the 10 years, any 4 years profit can be tax exempted for new startups. Am I eligible for tax exemption on profit this year?
Ma'am, have you taken, are you a certified startup?
Divyanshi, can I request you to unmute yourself?
So if you are a certified startup who has been given that certificate from the government of India, then definitely you can take. But if you are not a certified startup, apply for that certification of a startup.
Okay, great. Then moving to the next question from Mr. Sai Krishna. He says, as a buyer, I'm getting more credit period from non-MSMEs. So I would prefer to buy from a non-MSME seller. Is there any benefit for an MSME?
See, this credit, it's a very complicated question. I tell you, it can take both rounds. So I was saying ki if you have, if they are bound to, they may go to the large sellers also. But see, MSME is a very important component of the Indian economy. They are into a very specific segment where they are operating. It is very difficult for the larger players to operate. So having regard that unique presence, they will not lose their ground. What they are going to gain is their amount will be realized on time. So if you are in some industry where you are competing with the large players, definitely you may lose because already they have benefits of scale. But if you are in an industry where you have uniqueness of being an MSME and being there because of you are an MSME, then definitely you're going to be benefited, because usually the government has an agenda to promote MSME, especially manufacturing. They have this agenda, and if there is any change in this, the government will make sure that your business does not move out and to the larger players.
Right. Mr. Vishwanath is asking a little around senior citizens. Apart from the increased limit of 7 lakhs, is there any other additional benefit? Previously, they used to enjoy 5 lakh basic exemption.
So there is a wonderful benefit in the budget, I tell you. So if you are a senior citizen, you have a problem where to invest your funds. So earlier, the government was giving a limit of 15 lakh rupees in the senior citizen deposit scheme. This year, the scheme, the amount has been increased from 15 lakh to 30 lakh rupees. So now you will get additional 5% rate of interest on your deposit in the of that additional 15 lakh rupees. So this is an additional benefit you can look for yourself if you have additional funds to invest.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Moving to the next question from Mr. Pradeep Kumar. He says, what benefit can you emphasize on any benefit for the fintech sector in this budget?
The biggest benefit that the fintech sector has got is that the government has combined them. So what was happening was the new fintech, but they were not getting access to the KYC mechanism. So they had to go to a very complicated mechanism to get the KYC of their of their customers. Now, once they are combined with the DG Locker and they got into the easy KYC method, so anybody, if their customer acquisition would become very easy. Because since the government has prescribed the procedure, you don't have to worry about whether you're doing it right or not. If it is compliant to that DG Locker, that means you are fully compliant with the KYC mechanism. So they have made that easy for you. Then fintech sector is one of the most interesting sectors. I will just quote the Google head, what he has stated to the US government. He's saying that America is going to lose if they don't build something like UPI in US. So you can imagine what India is doing is an example what people want US and UK to do. Fintech is a wonderful world. I think it is going to be very excited going forward. You have to experiment. You have to get new ideas. Paytm has grown from here only. It is not somebody, he didn't keep up with any background. Vijay Shekhar has made Paytm from here only. You can create another fintech. You can create another Paytm. I think it's a very exciting sector going forward.
Right. The next question again is from Alpana Dhole. She says a lot of people are saying that TV and mobile will become cheaper. Do you think that will be so, and how much cheaper will it really be?
See, what happens is here again, I'll say what the theme of the government is: make in India. Anything which is made in India, it is going to be cheap. Anything which is going to be imported, it's going to be. That's the clear concept of the government. And the government has made it very clear. We want to do make in India, go local, make business in India, manufacture in India. So if you're buying an Indian product, it's going to be cheaper. If you're buying an imported product, it's going to be expensive for you.
Great. That's a great summary on that one. From Shashank Jani, she says, is there any benefit for the edtech sector, any skill development?
Yes. EdTech sector, it is again a startup ecosystem that we are talking about. Government is doing a lot of experimentation in terms of new type of learning. So what they want, people should go learn coding. People should go learn artificial intelligence. These are the new segments. And I think the existing setup, they are not well prepared to deal with these new generation learning. I think there is your zone. There is where you can create a difference for the education sector, technology sector. We already have a lot of learning attacks, and now there is, I think, there is over burden on the direct learning applications who are providing education to the basic school level. But if you move into the new generation sector, definitely there is a lot of scope there.
Great. Moving quickly to the next question from Yash Chawla. He says, how easy is it to avail financial facilities from bank without collaterals for an MSME now? Any policies eased out to be floated by banks post budget announcement?
See, what happens is there is a center as well as state. There is a policy which every state government and central government have for development of their MSMEs. So you need to contact your state industries department, and there you'll find number of policies for the new businesses wherein you can avail loan without a collateral. Further, there is a CGT SME, CGT credit guarantee scheme of the government. You can directly go and contact your banker, and you can talk to them that we want to avail that benefit, and by paying 2% extra on interest, you can avail that benefit also without collateral.
Sure. I think we'll take on the last two questions. One is from Mr. Harsh Kumar. He says, we're an AI-based, SaaS-based platform and IT service provider. Is there any specific thing that you can share about how the new union budget will help us?
The Honorable Finance Minister specifically talked about artificial intelligence. The future is all about artificial intelligence. We see that every big corporate in India, they're moving towards for all their process level work. So production, they're using high degree of artificial intelligence. So we've been working with a lot of artificial intelligence companies in India and across the globe. And we find that future is very bright. The government is talking about artificial intelligence, but either you can take the benefit of, so if you are a startup, you can go for benefits of startup. And if you are a different level, so I need to understand what detail in what business you are. So once we have that details, we can talk specifically about the benefits that you get.
Sure. Also, if you can share your email ID, Ritul, in the chat box, if anybody would like to get in touch with you to, let's say, discuss with you further questions, then we'll invite them
Okay,
to do
Malvika,
so.
I'm
And they
writing.
say we're a certified startup. And my colleague globally at Supriya has already shared your email
Sure.
ID.
I think that is fine.
Umesh Mathur, I'd request you to please ask your question again. There are a couple of questions again around a little more on AI. Do you want to take that offline, or any last comments on implementation of AI specifically in relation to the allocation of the country's budget for this purpose?
See, Malvika, I'm giving you an overall picture about the artificial intelligence business. So I am very fortunate that I get an opportunity to work with a lot of companies which are into the artificial intelligence business. So what is happening is it is a dramatic change which is moving. So all the big corporates in India or across the globe, so whenever they have to manage their processes, so they are moving very fast towards the AI process. You see all the banks now. Every bank has their own artificial intelligence chat box. They will talk directly with you. So this is getting very deep into the entire system. Anybody who is not working with AI, he cannot scale up. So you have got a big opportunity. We just need to. I can talk specific about where depending on your business, but specifically there is a very interesting future for artificial intelligence going on. That is for sure.
Sure. I think I seem to have missed one question from Mr. Umesh. It was fairly specific around payments, so I didn't take it up. Maybe you want to take it offline, but just in case you want to comment about it, they say we are an SME, and as regard to payment support for SMEs, we still don't get paid on time. Is there any way to enforce it?
See, enforcing, I'll give you a very practical answer for this question. If you want a theoretical answer, I'll give you a theoretical answer. So theoretical answer is that you can definitely go and claim interest in MSMED Act 2006. Okay. So once you claim interest, nobody is going to make the payment for interest. They will pay your money on time. In case, but that is complicated. That is theoretical. Practically, you have to do business with the same person. If you go and claim interest under MSMED Act or you give them a notice, you will lose your business. So you need to find a midway. You need to find that the practical ways. You need to find a midway. But yes, MSMED Act provides for interest for the past dues. For the future dues, I think Section 43BH is going to take care of.
That's wonderful. I think it was a great mix between a practical and a theoretical approach. I think we don't have any further questions, and they were quite engaged. The audience was quite engaged today. Thank you, Mr. Ritul, for sharing all this knowledge, these insights. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. It was honestly a very nice and engaged session. All of us learned and benefited a lot. So I think there's one more question. 90 days is the maximum time for an MSME to recover. I think it's just a comment by Mr. Shobit. Again, we're getting a lot of thank you messages for you that the session was very useful. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you, Mr. Ritul, once again for sharing this knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you, Malvika. And thanks to all the viewers. They have been very patient and listening to me.